you just say?
Maybe boobies can be our pineapple.
Yes, boobies. And then, then we turn the corner and boobies.
Yeah.
I love it because there's two of them and there's two of us.
Exactly.
Boobies. I love it.
One booby each.
Perfect pair. It's a constant search for the perfect pair.
Exactly.
All right. Okay.
Or it could be you're the pear and I'm the areolas. Oh.
Even better.
Ears are open, then that sound you hear is Stream Team Podcast Episode 4. I'm your host, Jamel Singleton, and joining me is...
Yo-ho!
If this is your first Stream Team Podcast, we start each show with Press Rewind, a recap of what we've been reading, watching, playing. Then, we segue into a discussion of our favorite recent news stories. Finally, we'll dive into an in-depth review. This week's review is From Time to Time. Joe, are you ready to press rewind?
Of course.
Nice. Let's do it then.
You got that smooth, sexy, silky voice, man. I love it.
Oh, well, thank you, sir. I've been working on it.
You will. It's very nice. I like it. It's good. Good.
Oh, hey, I muted myself. There you go.
No, it was. This is the voice that.
This is the first time. We'll have pre-roll in the actual show.
All right. Sorry. My bad.
All right. So, press rewind. What do you got, JoJo?
Well, I've been sick this last week, so if my voice sounds a little bit more gross than normal, yeah, hairball. So what it means is at night we're not going for walks. My wife and I, we're not really doing much. I'm kind of just staying home, sitting on the couch and or laying in bed trying to do some 40-hour-a-week work, and then at the end of the night I try to watch something so I can fall asleep to it and just hibernate because of the sickness. So this week I actually watched 3 movies. The first being Stolen with Nicolas Cage.
To save his daughter.
There's no way you can steal $10 million. This isn't your life anymore.
I'm running out of time. He has just 12 hours.
You don't think he's telling the truth?
No, I do not. To steal $10 million.
Fire alarm just went off at Parish Community Bank.
I want this guy nailed. Your father abandoned me. I'm gonna make him pay for the both of us.
Honey, I'm gonna get you out of this.
Nicolas Cage. Time's up. Stolen.
And what I realized after watching this movie was that he really stole like an hour and a half of my time. That's what the movie means. That's what Stolen is. He steals time away from you. It's actually about Nicolas Cage's character, Will Montgomery, trying to leave his criminal past behind, but then he gets out of jail. And when he gets out of jail, his daughter is kidnapped. And he has to go back into a life of crime to pull off this one big last heist to pay off the guy who kidnapped his daughter. And it's just a horrible, horrible, horrible movie.
So it's like Matchstick Men, but not good.
It's like 90 different movies that are out there, but I thought Nicolas Cage, I'm like, hey, I'll give it a shot. Like, he was in Con Air. Dude is awesome. Like, he can make some good movies. And Simon West is the director of the movie. He actually made Con Air and a bunch of other movies since then. Josh Lucas is also in this movie, who typically I like as an actor. I think he's kind of a versatile actor. In this movie, he was horrible.
Really?
And I'm sure it's the role. I'm sure some costumer thought it would be hilarious to do some really stupid stuff with him. But his villain in this movie was laughable, like just bad. And they even do like the 1980s movie thing where like he dies at the end, but then he comes back and he grabs our hero one last. Like, it's just horrible. It's just bad. Totally skip Stolen or otherwise, again, the only thing you're going to be losing is your time.
Was Nicolas Cage at least Nicolas Cagey?
Yeah. I mean, there's even a scene at the beginning where I was like, totally Nicolas Cage. He's listening to music before the heist, and he puts on CCR, Creedence Clearwater Revival.
Oh, nice.
And then Josh Lucas is like, do we seriously have to listen to this again? We listen to this every single time. And he's just like, don't knock the music, man. Don't knock the music. It's CCR. Like, totally Nick Cage.
Classic
Totally
Cage.
Nick Cage. Yeah, that's Nick Cage right there. So that movie sucked. Moving on to a slightly better movie, The Awakening.
Miss Cathcart, I'm a history master at a boys' prep school. I was sent to request your help. You are a ghost hunter as well as an author.
You can't hunt what doesn't exist.
We think we have one that does.
We might want ghosts to be true. Doesn't mean they are.
These boys aren't worried about bumps in the night. They are frightened to death.
I know this place, and I don't hold with any ghostly nonsense.
Which I'd seen the trailer for. I think on one of the websites I frequently visit, I'd seen the first 5 minutes of the movie. It stars Rebecca Hall and Dominic West, directed by Nick Murphy. It's set in post World War I England. It's about a boarding school that's apparently being haunted by a little boy's ghost. And they call on this woman, Rebecca Hall's character, who kind of disproves hoaxes, to come in and find out what's going on. She thinks it's all a big joke. She thinks this guy's doing it. These kids are doing it. And she starts to find out that, in fact, some of these things are happening. Like, these people are doing things that are just people doing things. But then the more she's there, the more she starts to realize there's actually something supernatural going on. It started out really, really strong. They had a cool seance scene where she disproves everything. It was pretty cool. Then towards the middle of the movie, it went to decent, and I was like, well, this is still okay. I'm still involved. She's a great actress.
Right.
And then it just went weird and mushy, and it had this really silly, inane twist, and it didn't need it. It was already going to be a cool movie, and it just it fell flat at the end, I felt.
That's ghost stories, though. I think that seems to be a problem with many ghost stories. It's oftentimes the third act and sometimes part of the second act just tends to fall apart. You think about movies like The Others and some other ghost stories, they just kind of, I don't know, at the end, they just can't come together.
Well, I think everybody's trying to reinvent the genre of a ghost film, and not like a Saw scary movie kind of ghost film, but like a thriller. We just talked about the Gift.
Right.
That was a really well done ghost movie. There was a movie with ghosts in it, and someone who could see the ghosts. And that did not fall flat in its third act. It had a twist, but a good twist, and not just this person is dead, or this person had this happen to them as a kid, or whatever. You know what I mean?
Right.
It made sense for the script.
Yeah, the twist felt more like a coin toss. It could go any direction.
Yeah.
You're just waiting to see what direction it could go. And even then, freaking coin hits the ground, and it was like a double-headed coin. Total surprise. It's like, wait, I didn't know it could go that way.
Exactly. You weren't certain where it was going, but at the same time, you knew it was going to go someplace good.
Exactly.
So The Awakening is worth at least a rental. I mean, it's got some really good kind of chilling, haunting moments in it. But ultimately, the winner of this week was a total surprise to me. The Hunger Games movie.
Primrose Everdeen.
Crab! I volunteer! I volunteer as tribute.
Our tributes, Peter Malark and Katniss Everdeen.
They just want a good show. That's all they want.
There's 24 of us, Gail. Only one comes out.
May have heard of a little movie called The Hunger Games.
You gotta be shitting me.
A dude, I swear, directed by Gary Ross, starring Miss Jennifer Lawrence, who, even though this is one of her first movies that I've seen her in, or one of the first movies she made before, like Silver Linings Playbook and things like that, she did a really damn good job. She is a great actress.
Oh my god. You're killing me.
You
freaking killing me.
Did you see it?
Oh yeah, I saw it.
What'd you think?
I thought it sucked.
Why did you think it sucked?
It's probably mostly because I read the books.
Ooh. Unlike Harry Potter, I did not read these books. I just saw the movies. Unlike even Jeez Louise, the Twilight movie, the first Twilight movie, which I read because someone told me when we finished making Road Less Traveled, the vampire movies. Someone told me, like, you got to read this book. Like, it has people who start off in Oregon and go to Phoenix, and your people go to from Phoenix to Oregon. And it was like, what? So I read it, and then I saw the movie, and I was like, this movie is horrible.
Absolutely horrible.
Horrible. But see, the Hunger Games, because I didn't have the rest of the plot in my head, I didn't have knowledge of what else was happening. There was a lot of stuff when I ended the movie that I was like, why did this thing happen? What the hell was this like weird 3-finger salute thing? And there were so many things where I figured probably goes into further detail in the book, but I just hadn't read it. But seriously, as a standalone movie, I thought it was good. I didn't think it was like fantastic, amazing, but it beat the crap out of Stolen, and it was better than The Awakening.
Oh my god. So many things wrong with that movie. I don't even know where to start. Jennifer Lawrence just walks around like a zombie through the entire movie.
Oh, I thought she
emotionless. The movie's called The Freaking Hunger Games. Nobody in that movie looks hungry. Least of all Jennifer Lawrence, who, though she lost a ton of weight for the movie, still looks like, she doesn't look, let's just say she doesn't look like she's starving.
She's not skin and bones.
No, exactly. I mean, hardly anybody's skin and bones in that movie. And in fact, for it to be called The Hunger Games, they don't spend any amount of time on the idea that people are starving, and they never do anything to show that people are starving, really.
That's not entirely true. There was a scene of like PETA giving her bread. Her family didn't have any bread. I mean, there were scenes.
Yeah, but that scene is meant to be a long time ago.
Oh yeah,
and so it almost feels as if maybe there was just a bad point in the family's history where things were a little bit rough.
Dad got laid off, so we need some bread, PETA.
Right, exactly. And
which, by the way,
the camera work once you get into the games,
up and eat him with some kind of meat and sriracha sauce or something. It's very weird.
Yeah. Oh, it just and PETA, he's like a foot shorter than her. It's like every time he comes onto scene with her, you can almost see him picking up a milk crate and moving it next to her just so he could stand up and talk to her.
Hold on though. Woody Harrelson was good in that movie. Elizabeth Banks was also good. Lenny Kravitz was actually pretty cool, even though his character didn't make a whole lot of sense. Like
his character didn't make any sense, and they tried to like throw this emotional bomb on you.
Yeah,
it's like the guy's been in the movie for 5 freaking
moment
minutes.
Where they're like touching each other and like really close, and I was like, who is this guy again?
Exactly,
I feel like I missed like 5 scenes between the two of them. Like I said, not a perfect movie, but for a popcorn flick, for a free rental on Netflix, totally fine. No problems whatsoever.
I'll say you won't be bored.
Yeah, that's the thing.
That's about as positive as I'm going to get on that.
It was no battle royale, my friend. It was no battle royale.
Damn straight.
Yeah, you didn't even find out about any of the kids.
No.
Yeah. Okay,
no.
sorry.
Know nothing about the kids. You're not invested in any of them.
Not
even
at
the
all.
Poor little kid who messes up and dude walks up and breaks his neck.
Oh my gosh, that was horrible.
Yeah.
I felt bad because he was young. I didn't feel bad because I knew the kid at all.
Right.
I was like, oh, don't kill that little boy, scrawny little boy. Oh, you did. Okay, Jamel, press rewind for you, sir.
Well, I've been fairly busy this week and haven't had much time, unlike you, Mr. 3 Movies.
Yeah, all you have to do is this great thing. It's called just get really sick, where you're just hacking up a lung and your nose is draining and you look horrible and you sound horrible, and then they just let you stay home. It's fantastic. It's the best thing ever, dude.
Yeah, so when I did find some free time, I managed to watch a little bit of Justified, which is available for free for Amazon Prime users through the Amazon Instant Video service.
What are you doing here?
Well, I know you, Deputy Marshal Ellen Gibbons. I know you like to shoot bad people. The real question is, why didn't you kill me?
Make me pull, I'll put you down.
The series is FX TV series, and it's starring Timothy Olyphant and Walton Goggins. Timothy Olyphant from Deadwood and Hitman and a variety of other movies. Walton Goggins from one of my favorite series of all time, The Shield. He played Shane in that show, and it's just a phenomenal actor. So happy to see him again here in this show. Justified is based on Elmore Leonard's novels, Pronto and Riding the Rap, and a short story from him called Fire in the Hole. The main basis of the story is Raylan Givens, the main character, is a deputy U.S. Marshal, played by Timothy Olyphant. He's this tough federal lawman who kind of enforces his own brand of justice, and he's working in his hometown of Kentucky. Elmore Leonard has a bunch of adaptations from his short stories and books out there already. Films like Out of Sight, Get Shorty, Jackie Brown are all based on stories or books or short stories by him. So the source material here is very strong, as you might guess. Following that, the show is really, really great. It's a phenomenal show. I've been told to watch it like 1,000,000 times by 1,000,000 different people, and I finally got around to watching it this past weekend on a promise to a friend at work. Yeah, it's seriously legit. It's a great show.
I'll have to give it a shot. Is that set in present day? It is, right?
It is set in present day, and you know it's funny because if you see a trailer, you may not exactly think so, because Timothy Olyphant basically looks like a cowboy in the show.
Well, and I've seen the posters, the little thumbnails and whatnot for it, and I think I keep getting it confused with Hell on Wheels.
Okay, yeah.
Which is an AMC show about cowboys and whatnot. Like I keep getting the two screwed up in my head, and I keep thinking it's like an Old West kind of movie or TV show.
I think Hell on Wheels is in some ways trying to capitalize on Justified and kind of the Deadwood thing, with Deadwood not being around anymore. You know, I've heard that show's not great, but you know, I still want to check it out at some point. But anyway, back to Justified. In the pilot, Timothy Olyphant is working as a marshal in Miami, and the very beginning of the show, he's tracked down this guy he's been looking for, and he's given this guy this deadline, you know. You've got 24 hours to get out of town. And so now he's sitting in a restaurant with the guy, and he's like, you know, you've got 15 minutes to get out of town. And they have this very subtle conversation where the guy is basically saying, yeah, I'm not going to leave. And he's saying, like, you know, I told you in 24 hours, if you're still here, I'm going to shoot you down. And so, you know, they have this conversation, they go back and forth, and it's a very like Han shot first type of moment where the guy tries to pull his gun, and Timothy Olyphant, like a straight-up cowboy, while still sitting in his chair, unholsters his gun and shoots the guy 3 times in the chest before the guy can even lift his gun all the way over the table.
Draw. That's awesome.
And that becomes a thing with his character. He wears a cowboy hat. He walks around, you know, in his jeans and his blazer, you know.
And he's in Miami at this point?
So at this point, yeah, he's in Miami. And basically his punishment for having shot this guy out in the open in public at a restaurant. And
they frown on that, I guess, cops.
Yeah, basically his boss is catching all kinds of hell from the heads of the marshal agency and stuff like that. So he sends him away, hoping that when the heat dies down, maybe he can bring him back in. And he assigns him to go work in Kentucky. This also happens to be Olyphant's hometown. So he's none too happy about having to go back home, let alone, you know, being moved away from working in Miami and high-profile cases to working on these kind of more podunk cases in Kentucky. So, yeah.
I know a guy from Paducah, Kentucky.
Paducah, really?
Paducah.
Damn it,
Paducah,
Kentucky. Damn it, Kentucky.
Cool guy,
right?
Weird name, Paducah.
So it's really great. I really enjoyed it. Looking forward to watching more of it.
I have to give it a shot, man.
Yeah, definitely. Highly recommend it to everybody.
What about Hot This Week?
Hot This Week in news. Didn't have a whole lot to talk about. The first thing I do want to talk about, this is some very sad news, as people have probably already heard. Legendary film critic Roger Ebert passed away. So what I wanted to do is kind of a quick little tribute to him, is go over a few fun facts about Roger Ebert that some people may not know. So first of all, he was born June 18th, 1942. Ebert was an early investor in Google. He became a film critic for the Chicago Sun-Times April 3rd, 1967, before both of us was born. Check this one out. I've always thought Roger Ebert was a little bit of a pimp, but this really surprised me. Ebert went on 2 dates with Oprah, and he is the one who convinced her to take her show into syndication.
What?
I know, right? He was the first film critic to win a Pulitzer Prize and to be given a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. Yeah, I know. And he hated movies such as The Waterboy, Spice World, Tommy Boy, shameful, shameful. Armageddon, Flashdance, shameful again. Staying Alive, I don't know what Ebert was thinking. And The Usual Suspects, I kind of agree with him there. And as most people know who follow Ebert, he lost his voice and lower jaw as a result of surgeries from his battle with cancer over the last decade or so. So yeah, Roger Ebert passing away. Hope that he finds some enjoyment in that big movie theater in the sky. Continuing to review.
Yeah, I think I saw a nice little comic, a column comic of Siskel basically sitting in a movie theater's chair, like in a big theater in heaven, looking up at Ebert and saying like, "Hey Raj, I saved you the end seat." And I thought that was really cute because, Siskel died, more than 10 years ago now, like 12 years ago, 13 years ago.
So what do you got on news, Joe?
2 trailers came out this week. There's a trailer for a movie called Now You See Me. It's I feel like I've heard of it, but I haven't seen the trailer any earlier than this week. It's called Now You See Me. It's a magician heist movie. Have you seen the trailer for this?
Oh yeah.
It looks pretty badass.
Yeah, it does.
Lots of really good actors. Isla Fisher, Morgan Freeman, who's the dude from The Social Network and Zombieland? I always forget that kid's name.
Jesse Eisenberg.
Jesse Eisenberg, that's it. He looks badass in this movie. Like seriously, badass.
It's like he's channeling some more of that Social Network.
Yeah, like that, like you can't catch me kind of thing.
Snark, yeah.
I thought that looked great, and then Matt Damon's Elysium, also by Blomkamp.
Dude, that trailer just blew me away.
It looks good, yeah.
It absolutely blew me away. I was just like, wow, man.
Yeah, Neil Blomkamp, the guy who did District 9.
Yep.
Yeah. I think it looks... I'm still kind of confused as to what's happening. Like, I had to do a little bit more research into what the plot was to really kind of figure out how this guy is going to save the planet or whatnot, save Earth. But as far as a 99%er goes, it was like, hell yeah, screw the Richies. you know, like, bring them down. So I'm interested. I'm very interested to see what that movie's gonna bring.
Yeah, it also reminds me quite a bit of, I don't know if you've ever heard of or seen any of the manga series Battle Angel Alita. There were some things in it that were very reminiscent of that series as well. So it'll be interesting to see more of it and see if there are any further ties. Especially since recently we've had some other movies that seem to take inspiration from Japanese anime and manga series, like Chronicle, which at the end of that movie, it basically turns into Akira, which was pretty awesome. So seeing those kind of things cross over, I think it's just been interesting overall to see people our age who grew up with some of the same influences we have start to make movies, and seeing how various things in pop culture or from comic books or TV shows or anime start to cross into the media that we already enjoy watching.
More mainstream.
Yeah. It's been really interesting to watch. And so
that's cool, man.
Especially with Blomkamp, I think that a lot of what he does really feels like it draws inspiration from anime and those kind of anime and manga and various sci-fi things. So it's
nice. I like that he's always got some kind of social commentary.
Yeah.
It reminds me of the original Night of the Living Dead movie.
Right.
Or even some of the Night of the Living Dead movies, or, Dawn of the Dead or whatnot, about the shoppers at the mall. Like, everything was kind of making fun of consumers and
consumerism.
Yeah, I like the little stabs, I guess, during the movie. I think that's nice.
Yeah, absolutely.
So those two movies I'm excited for. Something else I'm very excited for, Arrested Development, coming to Netflix in May. They released 9 posters. If you haven't seen these and you like Arrested Development, you have to check out the posters. Just type in Arrested Development posters. You'll find them easily. But they've just got some great fun humor, orange backgrounds, blue backgrounds, that kind of thing, to go with the show colors. They've got a image of a banana with a name tag on it. It says Mr. Manager, and the tagline is "Back in Business." They have Tobias's jean cutoff shorts, his never nude shorts, and the tagline is "Never Say Never." Buster's hook from his arm and his little sweater or whatever stuck into a juice box.
Get hooked again.
Get hooked again. I mean, come on, man. These are just genius. Just genius. So many different things. George Senior's ice cream sandwich or ice cream bar.
It's going to be sweet.
It's going to be sweet. Just genius. Anyway, if you haven't seen them, check them out. I'm not doing them any justice by telling you about them. You have to see them. If you're at all excited about the Arrested Development show coming back, I so cannot wait for May. Seriously, can't get here fast enough.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it as well. Going to be much fun. It's funny too, because for all the fanfare Netflix is giving this show right now, I think it's known. I don't know if you know about this, but they're not gonna do another season after this.
I saw that it's like a one-shot thing.
Right. So and I'm not sure if it's because, maybe the cast and everybody involved can't see it going any further, or if it's just Netflix is just, they want to kind of take all the fandom and all the publicity and run with it. But I don't know. We'll see.
Well, as a true fan, I would say that even the new, whatever it is, 13 episodes, I think it's going to be, or 14, 15 episodes. I can't remember how many it's going to be. It might even be 15 now. Will probably last me for the next year. I'll just keep watching them, or I'll watch the entire series from start up to the new episodes and do it again a couple of times. So I'm good. I'm good for the next year at least.
Taking a sip of coffee. Sorry.
No.
All right. So where were we? I guess that's it for hot news this week.
Cutting it down, baby.
Wait. I've got one more thing. I forgot all about it.
What?
Almost forgot all about it. All right, so this was crazy news. It blew my freaking mind, and I know you're not going to care because I'm probably the only freak in the world that cares about this stuff, but Justin Lin will not direct Fast and Furious 7. It seems Universal's timeline for getting that movie going after Fast and Furious 6, which initially he was planning to film the two Fast and Furious 6 and 7 back to back. He feels like the schedule is not conducive to creativity, and he's walked off of the job of directing Fast and Furious 7.
Holy crap, that's got to be a big paycheck he's leaving behind.
Yeah, and even crazier, to replace him, Universal has hired James Wan, director of the original Saw. Yes. Insidious, yes. Which, I mean, I'm trying to figure out why in the hell, but the only thing I can think of is somebody in the studio was like, if we swap one Asian guy for another one, nobody will notice. I don't know.
I'm not going to lie. I was just looking up an image of James Wan and Justin Lin, because I was like, wait, Lin and Wan, are they both? No one will even know. They all look the same.
Right.
You're a racist motherfucker.
Yeah, so it's a really interesting choice. I'm I'm thinking, I mean, the only logical reason could be that James Wan came up with a really great idea. He did work on Saw, but it was just the first film, and he produced the other films. And the one thing with Saw is that as that series went on, it became a battle of writers and script writing, because each movie pretty much ended it. You know, it was like they can go no further after this, and they left this crazy job up to the next screenwriter to try to dig themselves out of the hole that the last screenwriter put them in. You know?
Not my problem. You guys have fun with that.
Yeah, we'll kill the bad guy. He's gone. He's dead. What are you going to do now? Oh, well, we'll just make this one take place at the same time as the last movie. You know, it's
son of a bitch.
Yeah, it became this crazy battle of wits between the screenwriters, and it was really fun to watch. So maybe James Wan can do something like that. I don't know. But kind of bums me out, because as a fan of the series, Justin Lin stepped into the series and he brought it back from the dead after Fast and Furious 2. I mean, I like Fast and Furious 2, but if I'm being honest, it's the weakest of all the movies. And
dude, it's the last one I've seen. I'm sorry.
Damn you, Joe.
I haven't seen Tokyo Drift. I haven't seen any of the other one. I'm sorry. I think I might have seen. No, that was 2.
Yeah, so Tokyo Drift almost stands alone as a separate movie, and even funnier, Tokyo Drift takes place after every movie that's come since that movie.
What?
Yeah, every movie since Tokyo Drift is a prequel to Tokyo Drift. Yeah, let that swirl around in your head for a minute.
What?
Yeah.
I missed that memo. I'm sorry that it was set like 20 years in the future.
So, yeah. Anyway, enough Fast and Furious talk for me. I readily admit I'm the only psycho who loves that series. So this news was big news to me, and it kind of made me sad and also very curious as to where the series will go from here.
I don't even know if I knew that there were 3 more movies after Tokyo Drift. I'm sorry. Fast and Furious 2009, Fast 5 2011, and Fast and Furious 6 2013. I'm very sorry.
Yeah.
I'm very sorry.
Check this out. Check this
out.
Are
they on Netflix at all?
To anybody who feels like they'd like to see what the hell I'm talking about and why I like this series, there's an app called Vudu. Available on iPad, iPhone, Xbox 360, PS3, on most Blu-ray players. Download Vudu. Go into Vudu, and they have a 15-minute or 10-minute preview of Fast 5. Watch that. And if you're not completely hooked and want to rent that movie so you can see the rest of it, then call me a crazy action junkie and never listen to me again.
No. Don't listen to him for that. Listen to us again all the time.
I mean, listen to the show. Just don't listen to me outside of the show. Like, if you hear me talking and I'm not on the show, you can shut your ears.
You just disregard. It's just wah, 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 like Charlie Brown.
Because remember what I had said. If your ears are open, then you're watching Stream Team Episode 4. You're listening to it. That's what you're hearing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I'm going to go with that, too. Do you have these movies on Blu-ray, by the way?
I don't, actually. You know what? I'm going to get geekier on you. So I haven't bought these movies.
You know, we've only got like another hour, dude.
Yeah, I know. I haven't bought these movies because I actually want to buy them through a streaming service. So anytime I'm sitting in front of the TV, I don't have to get up and get a disc. I can just I want to watch Fast 5. You know, I want to watch The Fast and Furious.
You know, for a series called Fast and Furious, that doesn't sound either fast or furious. Sounds kind of lazy. Just
it is Fast and Furious. It's slow. It's slow and Pinto-ish to get up and get a disc
to own
and
it.
stick it in the Blu-ray player.
I see where you're going.
So if I get Vudu HDX streaming, then it's basically as good as a Blu-ray, and I don't have to get up and get my ass up off the couch.
I gotcha. I was hoping to finally borrow a Blu-ray player, a Blu-ray disc, so I could finally use my Blu-ray player.
Oh well, I've been thinking when you come over, I'll have to give you Game of Thrones. Watch that.
For those not watching at home, for just listening, my eyes enlarged to the size of 50-cent pieces just now. Sweet! Sweet! I want to see Game of Thrones in Blu-ray. Hell yeah! All right.
Time for the main event?
The main event.
This week on the main event, we have From Time to Time. It's a movie directed by Julian Fellows, written by Julian Fellows, and starring Alex
Julian
Edel.
Fellows. Just kidding. And starring Julian Fellows.
Starring Julian Fellows. It stars Alex Edel, Timothy Spall, Maggie Smith, and Alan Leach. From Time to Time is a haunting ghost story spanning two worlds, 2 centuries apart. When 13-year-old Tolly finds he can mysteriously travel between the two, he begins an adventure that unlocks family secrets laid buried for generations.
What is it? Do you believe in ghosts? Don't you? I do now.
You mustn't be frightened. The house is bound to share some secrets.
This is Jacob.
He's made it look as if Jacob was his son.
What will people say?
Nothing that will interest me.
Who are you? You can see me.
It's all right. Maybe he can help.
I want him out of this house.
I don't expect he'll stay long.
Who's going to talk first? Dun, dun, dun.
Dun, dun. All right, you start. What did you think of this movie, Joe?
You always got me. I want to hear what you think. You always counter what I say. Well, first of all, I'm going to start off. Julian Fellows is the man and the mind behind Gosford Park, which came out in 2001. I actually saw that movie in the theater, and I remember thinking, that was actually a really good movie I just saw, where hardly anybody talked louder than a whisper for like 2 hours, and we were pretty much stuck in servants' rooms the entire time. But it was a fantastic movie. He also is the writer and director of a little show you may know as Downton Abbey.
I think he's got a creator credit on that as well.
Yeah, which Jamel and I have talked about at length, ad nauseum, from time to time. So what I think is great about this is that From Time to Time and Gosford Park both came out. They were both precursors to Downton. And you can see so many elements in Gosford Park and in Downton, and in From Time to Time, clearly in Downton Abbey. It's almost like Julian Fellows was like prepping for this show on the BBC over the years. Like, I really love the British at this point in time, and I love the servants, and I think I can make a show around this. I'm gonna try a movie first. Oh, the movie was good. Well, they won't let me do another movie, but I can say it's a kids movie and include some time travel, and then I can do it. Oh, he did it great twice. Good. Give him a fucking show. Let him have some fun.
It does feel a little Harry Potter-ish.
Oh yeah, man. So what I liked about From Time to Time was I could see another kind of evolution from Gosford Park to From Time to Time in Julian Fellows, A, as a writer, but B, in his ideas and concepts that were going to be coming in full steam in Downton Abbey. So I just wanted to start with that. The mind and the man behind these movies and Downton, the TV show. He spent years, literally like a decade, like gearing up to Downton Abbey. So
absolutely. What can I say? I thought this movie was pretty awesome. It's funny because one of the things we were trying to do when we picked this movie was to get away from some of the ghosts and ghouls and stuff like that. And
horror movies.
Lo and behold, we picked another damn ghost story. Somehow it managed to sneak up on us, despite
movies our wives and kids would watch.
Yeah, the synopsis totally fucking skipped over that part of it. It's just like you read the synopsis and it sounds like a time travel movie, and then you start watching and it's like, oh shit, ghost.
I kept waiting, like, when is he gonna like walk into a room and there's gonna be a time machine, or when is he gonna slip into this weird dimension or something? And
yeah, you see a freaking ghost. And then they explain to you, oh yeah, that was a ghost, and you're like,
don't go into spoilers.
Yeah. Anyway, I think in the synopsis on IMDb they do actually use the word ghost, which that does help. They say a haunting ghost story. I think every other synopsis I read though made it just sound like time travel.
Well, and even the title, it's from time to time, not from ghost to ghost,
Right. But anyway, all that said, out of the way, I did think this was a pretty great movie. Surprisingly so. It's, especially as a big fan of Downton Abbey, you can see in every facet of the way it's shot and the way the camera moves and the sort of cadence and the way people speak, the texture and color of the way it's shot and everything, you really can see his influence on Downton Abbey very clearly. And I think it's great to come back and look at the show knowing he did this before and see, how he started and where he eventually got to. From the first time you arrive to the house, which is, the shots of this house are very similar to what you see in the opening of Downton Abbey. And you can just go on and on about Downton Abbey and how you see another character in another character or another actor in another actor who's appeared in Downton Abbey.
It was a veritable who's who of Downton alumni. Hugh Bonneville, who plays Lord Grantham in Downton, is in this movie. Alan Leach, who plays former chauffeur Tom Branson. Even David Robb, who plays Dr. Clarkson.
Yeah, exactly.
It was insane. I kept, I know him.
Yeah.
Oh, that's Tom. Oh, I know that guy. That's the doctor. It was very cool.
Yeah, and both of them playing very different characters than they played in the show, which is also very interesting. I mean, Alan Leach, again, just always an endearing character. I guess in that way, his character is very similar to what he plays in Downton Abbey as Tom, but
I think he's just good at that blue-collar worker kind of guy. I think people like him for that.
I think he's just got a great charisma about him. Like, he seems like a no-nonsense guy, who's friendly and all that stuff. But, yeah, it
was fun hearing him with an English accent, too, and not an Irish accent.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so it's a pretty great show. Pretty great movie, which I enjoy quite a bit. Great show. As Joe mentioned, there's some fantasy elements. I guess it was directed a little bit at kids, and from the very start, it feels very much reminiscent of a Harry Potter or something like that. In fact, the movie's opening shot is on train tracks, and a kid on the
station, waiting at the station. One of those little hubs where it's just like a bench near a little building.
Right.
It's
exactly.
not like a full-on. It's not like Grand Central or anything.
Right.
So I thought it was good. I didn't think it was great.
Oh yeah, I agree with that. But I don't know. My problems. It's funny because my problems with the movie don't really come until things happen that I don't know if we can talk about until we get into spoilers.
And I think you and I are going to have the exact same problems. It definitely seemed to be more geared towards kids, in that there wasn't too much in the way of story or plot or even jokes or inside jokes for adults to appreciate, like some Disney, Pixar, DreamWorks animation type movies. They're for the kids, but they also throw in some stuff for the adults. This didn't really feel like that, other than the themes of loss, losing a father, loss of history or the past, that kind of thing, and the certain elements of time travel. It didn't feel like there was a ton for the adults to kind of chew on it. It had good family themes, though, with strong ties between learning from the past and another fantastic performance by Maggie Smith, who plays Lady Grantham on Downton Abbey. And I still question why this woman isn't royalty yet. Why isn't she Lady, or not Lady, what do they call her? Dame Smith, Dame Maggie Smith. Why is she not? Frack, she would be such a good queen. I don't know. There are really good elements of this movie, but like I said, overall it was good. It wasn't great. And I'm with Jamel. I think there are certain things that we can't really talk about until we get into spoilers territory about why it kind of failed in some ways, but there's still a lot of really good things about it. There are so many ideas and concepts presented in From Time to Time outside of time travel that make their way or have made their way into Downton Abbey. Lots of time spent on the servants and their lives, along with the upper class folk, and that's some of the stuff that I really love about Downton. You actually get to care about some of the people in this house. Maggie Smith's character is not exactly like Lady Grantham, but she's a lot like Lady Grantham. But here, it doesn't seem like she minds hanging out around the staff like she does in Downton.
Her character is the only character with any kind of range or depth.
Yeah.
The characterization-wise, nearly every other character in this story is very shallow. We never get much info or background on most of the characters.
Yeah, they're kind of static, cardboardish.
Right, and you even get a look at the lineage of one of the characters, but he never explicitly speaks about his past or the past of his family or anything deeper than, well, actually nothing. You know, I was going to say deeper than what you see as you get glimpses of his past, or his family's history. But he doesn't even go into that. He's married apparently, but he doesn't even talk about his wife. I mean, there's nothing there.
Yeah, I kept, and I can't even say it. We'll get more into that later on. I'll make a note here. Talk about the servant's wife. Right. I don't know. Hugh Bonneville, the guy who plays Lord Grantham in Downton, he plays the father in this movie. Back in time. So he's the father 200 years ago of this little girl. So he's a father in this movie like he is in Downton, but it's a big departure from his Lord Grantham character. He's way more progressive in From Time to Time. Slavery is stupid, no man is property, and he's much more open to the idea of change in From Time to Time than he is in Downton. In Downton, he's pretty much like, put my fingers in my ears, bury my head in the sand, and everything will go back to just the way it was, and we'll all be rich and not have a care in the world. Ha 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 ha. And in some ways, I wish his Downton character was a little more like the character, the captain in From Time to Time.
Well, yeah, I mean, he's another character without much depth, but because he like kicks the damn door down and starts chewing up the scenery everywhere.
Yeah,
you don't really notice. I mean, he's great every time he's on the screen. He's a really great presence, and he brings life to the movie. So
yeah, he brings a little bit of heart to the movie.
Right.
His character embraces change. He wants to see a better world for his family, not the the old world and the old ways that Lord Grantham keeps clinging to in Downton. Like, he's very much prim and proper in Downton unless you really anger him. But in this movie, it's the opposite. Like, he's wanting to show you his heart. He's wanting to show you more about how sensitive he is, and everybody else around him is very British and doesn't appreciate any of that.
Yeah, he looks like a pimp too, and he's a ship captain. He comes in his whole ship captain uniform with his ponytail, like a badass, talking smack to the wife.
So, well, I mean, she deserves it. More spoiler territory. So overall, I thought it was a satisfying, kid-friendly movie. I gave it 3 stars on Netflix, but like I said,
we talked about this. Forget the review scores.
Oh,
watch it, rent it, skip it.
Oh, that's right. Okay, so I would classify this as a rent it. I wouldn't classify it as a buy it or a skip it. It's definitely not a skip it. I don't think I would ever own this movie. I can't imagine spending like $16-20 on it. But the reason I said I gave it 3 stars on Netflix, even though I know we're not doing that anymore, was because, genuinely I felt like on a 1 to 5 scale, if I had to choose it, Netflix is like hated it, didn't like it, like all that stuff. Like, I felt like it was a solid 3. You know what I mean? Not a great movie, but a good movie, worth watching, worth renting, pulling your family up and having them watch it. I don't think any of it's really scary. Even though it delves with ghosts or whatnot, it doesn't have any kind of like jump scares or things like that. And if it does, it immediately dispels them, so you feel comfortable with the situation. Mm-hmm. But like I said, if you're looking for something more entertaining for adults, I'd stick with like a WALL-E or Tangled or any of those kind of, even Kung Fu Panda or those kind of things. I feel like they actively put things in there for adults to appreciate and enjoy, rather than just kind of kid level plot, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Well, and I actually misspoke about the review score a second ago. It was buy it, stream it, or skip it, is I think what we're going to go with. And
damn, we need to put that in our notes.
Yeah, so I would rate this a stream it. I think that it's worth watching. It was definitely a pleasant watch. I enjoyed it quite a bit. I had some problems with it, but I was able to easily overlook those problems. And especially as someone who has children, I'd put this movie in the category of something like The Secret Garden or A Little Princess. I think it fits really well right alongside movies like that. And
I could see that. I could totally see that.
I personally would buy it because I do have 2 children who are old enough to watch a movie like this and would thoroughly enjoy the kind of fantasy. I mean, it's a very light movie. It never gets very dark, and the elements that get dark, I think, are in some ways educational, and there's a lesson there when these things come up, which is also valuable for children. So
it's got good themes,
definitely.
Family, sticking close to family, the idea that even somebody who's outside of your family can be family, even more so than some of your actual family.
Dealing with loss and loss of loved ones and things like that. I think it has some really great, like you said, really great themes and things that will be good for kids. As a parent, I definitely approve of this movie to watch with your kids. It'll be fun. They'll enjoy it. There'll be lots of laughs. And I think that watching it's one of those movies where there are movies out there where if you watch them by yourself as an adult, you can't help but see problems and things like that. But there's an enjoyment as a parent to sitting down and watching a movie with your child.
If you got a kid next to you, yeah,
and watching them enjoy the movie, and it adds to your own personal enjoyment of the movie, knowing that it's something that you can spend time with them and enjoy with them.
I love you saying that because I don't have that experience yet. My daughter is not even 2 yet, so you can't get her to sit still for reading a 8-page board book, for goodness sake. But I'm really looking forward to the day when the movie experience changes and it's not just me watching, it's me with her watching and me kind of also watching her to see how she's enjoying it. Or I saw a video not too long ago of a dad who taped his son's, like, it's probably like a 5-year-old 6-year-old son's reaction to seeing Empire Strikes Back for the first time and seeing Vader reveal to Luke that he's his father. Sorry for anybody if they haven't seen Star Wars or Empire. Spoiler. And the little, have you seen this video?
No, I haven't. I was just going to say, if you haven't watched Star Wars yet and we're
you've got to
spoiling
find
it for you,
this,
then you
this
need
little
to
like 5 or 6-year-old is the dad tapes it and the kids, you hear in the background, Obi-Wan never told you what happened to your father. He told me you killed him, and the kid's just sitting there, rapt attention, hands on face, just watching the movie intently. Nothing else is getting in his way. And you hear Vader say, "I am your father," and the kid does this total O face, like he's just looking around to see if anybody else is having the same reaction. Like, he just cannot believe it. And you hear the dad just laughing, and the camera's shifting a little bit because he's chuckling. And I was laughing too because I remember that moment when I was a kid, and the idea that now I get to share some of those moments with my own children is just phenomenal. So I'm really glad you said that, Jamel.
Yeah. Well, glad I can say it. Glad I can add a different perspective to it. I think that especially now, I'm at a point where my daughter's going to be 13 pretty soon, and I've been kind of picking movies, some of my favorite movies of all time, and showing them to her as I can. So she's seen things like The Sandlot. She's of course seen Star Wars and stuff like that. She's seen Indiana Jones series. Most recently, I think I showed her Solar Babies.
Oh my goodness, Jason Patrick Solar Babies?
Yeah, so it's just been fun
kind of
going through the old movies. I'm probably going to show her Goonies pretty soon. It's yeah.
One of my favorite movies of all time.
We've seen Time Bandits, so what I was saying really applies. Being able to show something that you love to your children, and especially when it's something that is timeless and it really captures their imagination the way it did yours, and being able to share that with them, and being able to, I don't know, it's almost like getting to relive those moments again through their eyes. And I think that's really great. And I think this is one of those movies that, you'll show it to your kids, and hopefully your kids will show it to their kids. And, I think it's that kind of movie. It's not perfect. Yeah. It's not the most amazing knock your socks off movie you've ever seen. But I think in a world where there's not a ton of movies that you can sit down as a family and
Not
watch
a lot
together.
of good content out there.
Yeah, definitely. Something that's not a cartoon with snot and boogers and shit floating around everywhere. It's
or fart jokes and stuff
right,
like that.
Exactly. So, something that will grab their attention, be full of fantasy and fun, and still, you'll be proud that you sat them down to watch it with you. So I think
That's
it's
a great
for
perspective,
that.
man.
So yeah, definitely. I'd give it a stream it for the people out there. For myself, as a parent, I'd definitely buy it, and I'd recommend for other parents to buy it as well.
Nice.
All right. So now that we've given this movie this hearty endorsement, why don't we jump into spoilers and talk about what we friggin' hate about it?
Mr. Darcy is a nice bloke. They get together in the end. Rosebud is a sled, and Harvey the rabbit's not pretend. Bruce is a ghost in the Sixth Sense. The family in the others are too. That's your wife's head in a box, Brad. So wish John Doe adieu. What's in the box? What's in the box? Dumbledore dies, Trinity dies, Norman Bates is his mother, he's in a disguise. Snoop dies, Omar dies, and no one really understands Mulholland Drive. It's true, it's true. We're gonna spoil it for you. It's true, yeah, it's true. We're gonna spoil it for you.
What the hell is going on with the are they ghosts or aren't they thing?
What do you mean?
What do you mean? What do I mean? The first time we see the girl from the past, she appears as some kind of a weird apparition to the boy.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other lady comes and grabs her, and we see both perspectives. The boy is gone, and he sees the girl disappear. And in that moment, I was like, "What the fuck?" It's
right.
like, is this time travel in the movie? Is this what they're referring to as time travel? Like, the house just has pockets where people move back and forth. He suddenly appears in his modern day, like World War I clothes in the past, 200 years in the past, and she appears in her crazy night clothes in the future. Like, what? And they're ghosts? I don't understand this. How can
I had
they be
this
ghosts?
preconceived idea about that, and I think that's why it didn't trip me out as much. It's because, when it comes to various aspects of things like time travel and things like time travel is a great example. When you think about time travel, you think about various kinds of time travel. There's time travel movies where somebody goes back in time and then time branches into different directions. So now they're on
alternate
a new branch.
realities.
Right. And then there's the time travel where it's always the same branch, like Back to the Future. It doesn't branch off and change realities, or they say it does in the movie, but I mean, he keeps looping back into the same branch over and over again.
We're not going to review Back to the Future. In the first movie, he loops it back around. The second movie, they fuck things up and they have to go back and fix it so they can loop it back around in the third movie, blah, 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 blah.
Right,
yes,
but they're always
exactly
working on trying to fix the original branch.
Right.
And fix changes that happen in the original branch. It's when things get messed up that he goes back to the future and ends up in a different branch. But anyway, that's in a roundabout way. What I'm trying to say is I do the same thing with ghost stories. So I think back to other ghost stories I've seen and how things work. And for this movie, I figured things were working like the movie The Others, starring Nicole Kidman, where, spoiler alert for The Others, if you haven't seen it, shut your ears.
If you haven't seen it, get the fuck off this phone call.
Yeah. Throughout The Others, Nicole Kidman's character and her family are being terrorized by ghosts. Eventually, by the end of the movie, you realize that Nicole Kidman and her family are actually dead, and the ghosts they've been seeing are the people living in their house now.
The real live people living in the present day in their house, and they're the ones who are the ghosts seeing through to the people who are alive.
Exactly. And if you listen to our spoiler song, they actually spoil that exact thing. But yeah, so I figured that things were working that way, where one can see the other, and they remain in their time, and, there's some kind of weird crossover. Now here's where the weird time travel thing happens. And this is the part where I could see where it would be weird, is that he's able to affect the past.
That's exactly what I'm talking about. In a ghost story, like, you absolutely cannot do that. Like, you set up these things where these people are ghosts coming back, and then are coming into the future and seeing the kid, and then are you experiencing your own horror movie?
Jesus Christ, yeah.
What happened?
I don't know. It was like a shadow, like somebody walked behind me, and I turned around to see if Maria was there.
If your wife was behind you, I'd be like, hide the porn. She's right behind you. I would have said something. Dude, this is totally like a horror movie. The white door in the background, like, it could creak open or whatever, and I'd be like, Jamel, no.
Yeah, this is what happens when we talk about ghosts so much.
Yeah, dude, it's from time to time. Relax, all right? The British ghosts. So what bothered the crap out of me was the exact same thing that you're talking about. Like, I understand the whole ghost thing, that he's seeing what's happening in the past or whatnot, but then he starts to chat with someone from the past in the present, and I was like, what the hell's going on? Then the kid, the modern day kid, or the World War I kid, travels back 200 years in the past into the past, and he's affecting things. He's giving a dude like bread and a flashlight, and then oh my, it just starts creating all these different headaches for me. He goes back in time, meets up with this other guy, Tom Branson's character from Downton Abbey, who's
Alan
hiding
Leach.
out. Yeah, Alan Leach. He gives Alan Leach bread, and Alan Leach is like, can I have your flashlight? And he's like, yeah, sure, why not? Gives him his flashlight. Comes back to the present day, accidentally, like they just kind of move. He moves into a different room, and the lighting changes, and he's back in the present. And next scene, he's talking to his grandma, Maggie Smith, and she's like, I've always wondered about that flashlight. I should have asked you. And like she walks to like some bureau, pulls out this rusty, crusty old flashlight, and we've called this I don't know what the hell they call it.
It's been the family mystery for years.
For generations.
Yeah.
And the kid just is like, but if I would have looked in there this morning, I would have seen it, but it was in my hand.
No. He says it's been in there this whole time.
Sure.
Yeah, but it's been in there this whole time, but it was in my pocket
in my pocket this morning. And
right.
What is her answer? Do you remember her answer?
She's like, it certainly was.
She's like, oh, what are you going to do? And that bothers the crap out of me. Well,
I love the fact that they addressed it, because typically in movies like this, when time travel stuff comes up, they just don't even address it. They're like, yeah, sure, that's the way it works. But the fact that he addressed it and he was confused and she basically dismissed it, almost like
every time he asked her, do you believe in ghosts? And she says, do you? And he says, I do now. And she's like, yep, this house is kind of weird. And that's it. They just fucking move on. So, in my head, I guess what I'm trying to say is everybody seems very British. The rules around time travel here aren't very well thought out, or they're not focused on. We're just supposed to accept it, and movies that ask me not to question sci-fi rules, especially time travel, bug their shit out of me. Everybody's like, oh, dear me, a ghost.
Well, it's very, what's one of the things about this movie after it was all over is I was thinking this would have made a really great TV show.
Yeah,
because it's
just
very
keep it going or whatnot.
Yeah, well, it's very Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe.
Mm-hmm.
You almost feel like there are a zillion other stories to be told
in this house over the 200 years.
Yeah, like this kid will come back every summer and he'll have a different experience and learn a different
like Harry
story.
Potter going to the wizard school in the summertime or whatnot.
Right, he'll learn a different story about his family's history and how things got to be the way they were.
And he'll affect it. He'll have a real big change on it, or you know what I mean. He can experience it and interact with it. That sounds cool to me.
Right, and also he'll learn that Maggie Smith, when she was a girl, she experienced very similar things. She, as a child, she could see
maybe
the ghost.
He encounters the young her or something like that. You know what I mean?
Right. It almost feels like they were touching on it a little bit when he asked her about being able to see ghosts. How come I can see ghosts, but not everybody can see them? And, different things like that. And she almost says, at some point we get so busy in our lives that I think we just stop paying attention. And I think the idea is almost like maybe there was a time when she was seeing all of this and seeing all these ghosts. And then as she got older, the ability to see them and participate just disappeared or vanished.
Right. Her worries became more, her stresses of everyday life became more of a concern, and she stopped noticing what was happening in the house or whatnot.
Right.
But
one last thing. There's the part where he first brings up the ghost and she says, well, which ones did you see? which also lends to the idea that, the house is just full of all kinds of ghosts of family past.
Dude, I love the idea of it being a TV show or even like a series that we keep coming back to, and each time is a different time period or whatnot. But what bothers me about most British shows or movies is that there's no... I see it every once in a while on Downton when something horrific happens. There's no like real... Maybe I can't even say it's modern day because I've seen it in modern day British shows too. There's no like huge big reactions to things. You know what I mean? Like he sees the ghost and he kind of stumbles back and his heart races a little bit and then he's like, "There was a ghost in my room." Meanwhile, I'd be like, "Oh my God, kill it, a ghost. Oh Jesus, kill it." You know what I mean? Like and that's real, son. You know what I mean? Like that's not like if a ghost walked in behind you through that door, I would not be like, "Oh Jamel, dear, there's a little spirit behind you, an apparition."
If a little kid came blurry into the door and closed it and slammed it and left again.
Exactly. You would lose your shit. And I know you'd be like, "Oh, Joe!" And I'd be like, "Holy crap, dude, 911. But
no,
nobody...
man, no.
A
motherfucker goes up.
You'd be like, "What's up, dog?" And he'd be like, "Cool, man." And he would just leave. So what kills me is that nobody has that reaction. Like, even if a kid, I would be scared. I would not go to bed. I would not go in my room. I would not go anywhere alone. Like, I would carry a knife with me or something. And the kid is just like...
He was pretty freaked out, man. He was kind of shitting a brick when he walked in there. He walks in here, he's like, Granny, are there ghosts in the house, Granny? And she's like, "Well, dear boy, spit it out." It's more so she's calm. She's like, it must be very important.
A 3-minute conversation, and he's cool with it. That's what bothers me. Like, I would still, the next night, I'd have my covers up to my face. The night after that, I would be peeing in my bed. Like, it wouldn't end with the conversation with my grandma, but...
He was also British. A very curious chap. You must admit, he was incredibly curious about his family and his past and stuff like that. So... He was almost looking for the ghost the next day.
That's true.
When the sun was up.
He's very bored. So other than the time travel, are they time traveling? Is it ghosts aspect? Because they never really clarify.
Right.
I understand because I mentioned it a few times. Dame Maggie Smith mentions it. I just want to knight her or something. She mentions it a few times that the house is special. I think even like her main servant mentions that the house is special. Mm-hmm. But why? Is every house special because of the people and events that move in and out of it, or is it just this house? And why? Is it all older British homes? Like, what the hell?
Well, it seems like this house in particular is rife with history that goes back generations and generations. And it's always belonged to this family, this same family. So it's, in a lot of ways, it's very much like an old castle. It's this family has owned this castle or this house and has lived in it for so many generations that there's so much history and so much turmoil and strife collected. And again, it goes back to the idea of, I wish this was a series, because it almost seems like maybe these ghosts were stuck in the house because there was something unresolved,
Sure.
So
that's why the ghosts appear. That's why.
I mean, this was a huge event in this house. And it almost
everything burning
caused
down,
them to
people
lose
dying,
the house, as she kind of mentioned, This event almost brought the house down to its knees to the point that they had to sell it for the first time.
Yeah, they set it up a lot like Back to the Future in the sense of, well, your mother and I met at the Enchantment Under the Sea dance when, you know what I mean? Like, they give you all the key facts you need to know about what happens or what happened in the past to cause the present. And yeah, you're right. They do go back and they show a ton of that. This tree was planted when the other section of the house burned down, and he climbs the tree and there's, this thing. I can see that. Mm-hmm. I guess I just wanted more. It was good, but it wasn't great. If they had, tighter rules or reasoning behind their version of time travel or ghosts or whatever it was, like, what the hell was up with the bad guy appearing as a ghost at the very end of the movie?
Yeah,
well, at the very end of the movie,
I didn't. Yeah,
at the very end of the movie, the little girl can suddenly see. She's looking right at the boy, and then also the bad guy appears behind him, all menacing, and the girl's like, "Don't worry, he can't harm you." And I was like, well, then why did he appear? Like, what's the purpose? What? Like, the boy clearly affected the past, and in the past, this bad guy couldn't see the boy, but now the bad guy can come to the future as a ghost. You think what?
I think she could always see him. Despite being blind, I think she could see him.
Oh, you think so?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Oh, I didn't get that.
From the very first time
I knew she was blind, and I just wrote it off. I didn't even think about it.
Yeah, because she's very descriptive when she sees him the second time. Is it the second time or the third time she sees him? She asks him, actually, are you related to me? Or
yeah, but I thought it was just because like she sensed him and he was in the house and she just asked. I didn't realize that. I mean, maybe you're right.
She was very specific when she addressed him that second time. I think the second time she sees him, she's with Jacob. And I think Jacob can't see him that time. But she stops before she even gets to him, and she starts talking to him and asking him, who are you? And explaining to Jacob who she thinks he is.
I thought that was just because she's got some weird sixth sense or whatnot because she's blind. But
it could be that too. But yeah, I do get the feeling that she knew he was there. If not see him, then his presence made some kind of impression on her.
Sure. Well, I just...
Fucking Caxton, man. That guy was such a dick.
Should have been like Coxton or something.
She could probably smell him. She's like...
Yeah, Dominic West played a good bad guy in this movie. And there were so many questions left unanswered. Did he and the captain's wife have an affair? They never really talked about that.
I think there's a part where Tolly kind of
implies it to the grandmother.
Yeah, he does. And she says, why ever would you think that? And
she like shuts him down.
Yeah, it was weird, but it seemed very obvious that there was something going on between them.
In the past, the servants were even talking about it.
Yeah.
He takes care of her. They're like joking to themselves or whatever when he sees them and they don't know he's there. Like,
well, yeah, when the captain fires him too, like she's fighting vigorously to make that not happen.
We must keep him. Right, they're like sharing looks at each other or whatnot. Yeah. And then after the captain leaves, he stays on. I don't know. So we talked about the servant's wife a little bit ago.
Mm-hmm.
The groundskeeper Willie. What's his name? Jonathan Spall, David Spall,
Timothy Spall, Bogus.
Yeah. So Timothy Spall. So he kept talking about his wife throughout the movie, or rather the young boy asks him if he's married. He says yes. The boy keeps asking where his wife is. Timothy Spall's character, Bogus, talks about it like, busy. But then he never actually shows it. It would have been cool to see an apparition of the wife hanging out with him or something. So you get the idea that she's gone, but she's not really gone. Right. She's still there with him, but they just didn't do anything with it.
He was a little creepy.
I kept waiting for him to like make a move on the boy, if you know what I mean.
But at the same time, it was weird because he was like all creepy and hard. Like he's like, man, I'm a groundskeeper. I've been a groundskeeper all this time. And at the same time, he was a little bit soft. At the end, when the boy sees the ghost of his father, and he's in the back, or not actually, he doesn't see the ghost quite yet. He sees the mother arrive to give him the news. Right. And you see him in the background pull out a handkerchief and start crying.
He wipes his eyes all manly style.
Yeah. Yeah. It was.
He has a heart. But again, where the frick is his wife? That's what I want to know.
I don't know. Like he seemed, I don't know. The way he talked about his wife, it was almost like he like killed her and buried her in the backyard or something. Like,
well, see, I thought it was like Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, where John Candy's character keeps talking about his wife, and then Steve Martin's character realizes that his wife is dead. Spoiler alert for Planes, Trains, and Automobiles too.
Good job. I thought it was going to be after you spoil the spoils.
Well, you know what? That movie came out in the 80s. If you haven't seen it, fuck you. But seriously, like there was something. I mean, you've heard me say this time and time again over these episodes that there are certain things that my brain keeps trying to figure out while I'm watching the movie, and it becomes a distraction to me. And if for all of this stuff, if they give me a reason for why houses or this particular house are special or allow for the past and the present to connect, if they figure it out or at least give me some closure on a lot of these little things that we're talking about, I would feel much better about the movie. It would feel more satisfying to me in the end. You know what I mean?
It's a wormhole, Joe. It's a wormhole. Do you feel better? Did that make you feel better?
That makes me feel better. I appreciate it.
Really? Because it makes me feel sick to my stomach. This is why they don't explain it. Because when you explain things that have to do with fantasy and magic, you ruin them.
I'm sorry.
Metachlorians.
Midichlorians, bitch. It's all midichlorians. No midichlorians. George Lucas, you ruined it.
Yeah, so.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, you got to leave some things to imagination.
A totally not kids movie, not family friendly. Geez. Kevin Bacon.
Stir of Echoes?
Stir of Echoes. I love that movie. Stir of Echoes. Haunted House. There's a reason why, like, he gets pulled back in time and sees the dead girl and things like that. Like,
right.
I just felt like it gave me. I mean, you don't have to go crazy and creepy like Stir of Echoes, but that movie does a really, really solid job of tying everything up into even small bows, not necessarily one big bow, but small bows. And at the end of it, you feel like you've come on a journey and you understand it. Here, I felt like I came on a journey and I was like, well, that was a fun journey, I guess. Yeah, it was good. It was good. So, I don't know.
I think, I think we're getting off of our original point when we were explaining this movie, and that it's a kids movie. I mean, it's light.
It is a kids movie. Yeah, well, that's this movie's saving grace, is that I feel like anybody probably under 16 would probably appreciate this movie a whole heck of a lot more than I did, in the sense of they wouldn't be caught on all these things. They would just. So, like Maggie Smith, that's another blonde actress. Maggie Smith talked about, as far as, the kind of explanation for these ghosts or whatever, just kind of, that's just the way it is. I feel like that's how I'm supposed to act. That as a kid, I would have appreciated this movie more, because as an adult, I start picking it apart. I start looking for reasons. I start trying to figure it out. Whereas if I just did what she said and just open myself up and not try to close myself off or whatnot as to why I can't see ghosts, I probably would have appreciated it more.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that applies to all kids' movies. I think many of the movies that we love as kids, looking back at them as an adult, you can poke holes in the movies, but I think nostalgia can carry you forward, It's very rare that you get a completely perfect movie that's suitable for kids, that is also suitable for adults, and is absolutely timeless. You can go back and watch it again and again and again, and you can't find any holes. The Princess Bride, for example.
Right.
There's not many movies like that. So I think that he did an admirable job of recreating that sort of thing. But yeah, it is riddled with holes, and there are problems if you're an adult and you're looking too closely.
Yeah, if you're still listening to us talk, none of this ruined the movie. Like I said, I still think it's a good movie. But especially when it comes to time travel, like, I'm a time travel freak. I love it. I love the subject, the genre. I want to make a time travel movie someday. When it doesn't meet my specific needs for time travel, I get irate. So ignore me. It's still a solid movie, but this is a spoiler section where we get to pick things apart.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I almost don't even want to call it a time travel movie.
Yeah, really.
I feel like the time travel elements muddy things a little bit. It's definitely, I don't know, I guess maybe at some point when he was writing it, he started thinking, because the time travel elements, or the elements that involve any sort of interaction with the ghost, I feel like you could probably remove those and the movie would still work fine.
Sure.
But I feel like having him go back in time and be walking around, looking at all these people doing things, would be kind of dull. I think the kitchen scene, for instance.
If he's just observing, you mean?
Right. The kitchen scene is a great example where there's all this tension, because you now realize that some people can see him and some people can't. And he can interact with some people and interact with some things in the world. And it creates tension out of nothing and makes that scene a lot more exciting than it would be if he were just like walking around.
If it had had a different title than From Time to Time, I probably wouldn't feel so cheated, I guess, of the time travel aspect. You know what I mean?
For more than one reason, that title sucks.
Yeah, if it was like from year to year or something like that, or just get the word time out of there.
Well, we were talking about it offline before we started. I had the damnedest time remembering the name of that movie, and I kept calling it time and time again. So then I'm looking for it on IMDb to get ready for the show, and I'm looking time and time again, and nothing's coming up, and I'm like, what the hell, man? And so I had to go back and look at our show notes from last week, and oh yeah, From Time to Time.
Yeah.
Shit.
I mean, again, that name lends itself so well to a time travel movie. It's ridiculous. For literally jumping from time to time. I mean, but anyway, I think I got my hopes up for a real time travel movie, and I was let down by that. But still, good movie. Good movie.
Yeah, definitely a good movie. I enjoyed it quite a bit, and as I said in the pre-spoiler section of the show. Let's talk a little bit before we jump out of the review. I'd like to talk a little bit about, just in general, about Jacob and some of the other things that happen and some of the characters in the show.
Sure.
Because while most of the characterization was pretty shallow in, not the present time, I guess the World War I era of the show, or the movie, in the past, 200 years before that, I think the characterizations were a lot better. Even though they don't spend much time with all of the characters seemed a lot more defined, and they were involved in a lot more, doing a lot of things. Even just the help around the house and the kitchens and stuff like that. It felt like they had their own stories and their own things going on.
Part of that, I feel like, is part actor, part writing. Like Maggie Smith was the best part of the present day scenes, the modern, the World War I scenes. You know what I mean?
Right.
She was far and away the best part of it. The guy who played
you
Tolly,
could give her a matchbook for a script, and she could make your movie
and she'd be
phenomenal.
good. Yeah, she'd be good. Yeah. Caution around children. She'd be fine.
Yeah.
I think.
I dare say it'd be dangerous to give these to children.
Too light for one of these indoors. When you look at the cast from the past, like the 200 years previously or whatnot, I think the actors, the quality of actors is a little bit better. They're a little bit less character actors and real, more of lead actors, I guess I should say.
Mm-hmm.
But also, I feel like they're given more to do. The main character, Tolly, like he's just heartbroken about his dad missing in action in World War I. He doesn't know what's going on, so I feel like he's just kind of drifting through everything. He's drifting from time to time.
Well, he gets some growth. There's some growth to his character. I mean, when he arrives at the house, he's angry and bitter, and he starts to open up a little bit, and then eventually he becomes very curious, and that curiosity leads to him exploring the house. And
I feel like the only person he really opens up to, though, is Maggie Smith.
Right, and I think it's most important, though, because his anger when he first arrives is at her.
Oh yeah,
because the
Should
only
I even
thing
call you Granny.
Yeah, the only things he knows about her are not very positive things. He knows, or he believes, that she doesn't like his mother, and he knows about the letter that she wrote to his father, which he read after his father disappeared.
And it had bad
things
to say about his mom, right?
Right. So I mean, he had a lot of anger towards her, and for him to come full circle and almost become best friends with her by the end of the movie is, that is growth. That's a character arc, and I thought it was pretty well handled, especially for a child. I mean, if you're a child watching this child go through this, you're probably going to be like, I don't like that little boy at the very beginning. Yeah. But by the end, he turns into a decent lad, to use the
the common parlance of the day. Excellently done, Jamel. Excellently done.
Thank you.
I don't know. I have the same kind of thought that everything that happened in the past seemed more, and maybe it was more dramatic. I mean,
it was rich.
It was what?
It was rich.
Yeah, the kid is leaving behind the present, the boring ass present day, stuck in this, this musty old house without any friends or things like that. And he's going back in time, and he's hanging out with kids his own age who are experiencing some serious stuff. They're getting chased by people. They're getting sent up chimneys, and you're almost caught to death. It's funny
because it's almost not even ironic that, when he is in we'll just call it the present to make it a little less complicated. But when he's in the present, the color processing is, dull and
everything is bluish,
desaturated and bluish. Yeah, and when he goes to the past, everything is vibrant and rich and bright and oversaturated.
And there's a purpose behind that. I think it was designed so that the past was a more inviting, fun atmosphere.
Mm-hmm.
So I think when he does time travel or he does go back, I think it is a more, everything picks up the speed, the plot, the character development. But I think it does, in the end, kind of make a clear distinction when there really shouldn't be between the past and the present, but, the crappy present and the cool past. You know what I mean? Like, there should be more of a, I don't know, a good... I feel like he didn't really enjoy his time in the present at all, except for his talks with his grandmother,
Well, by the end, I think Julian Fellows tried to bring some of that together at the end, and I think he kind of fumbled a little bit, because in that very final scene, it goes from the dreary present to the colorful past when he goes back to the graves and he visits the ghosts of Jacob and what was her name? Susan? Or Jacob and Susan. And, it stays bright and saturated all the way to when he sees his mom pull up, and then it goes back to the bluish color. But then
when we have the bad news, right?
Yeah, then it kind of rolls back into the bright saturated when he sees his dad, and it stays that way.
You think it's a hopeful thing?
I think so. I think that maybe it has to do with him. Maybe the color treatment, it's more about him than anything else. It's about how he sees the world, how he's seeing these things. Like, maybe the color and the hue and the vibrance represent his enthusiasm or his excitement for learning about the past versus being, a kid stuck in this house all summer, this big, huge, dreary house. So, and, where the trees are all overgrown and the grounds are under-maintained and things like that.
I can see that.
Yeah, thinking about it now, actually, I think that maybe Mr. Fellows was trying to say something a little bit deeper.
Did you say Mr. Fellows?
I did say Mr. Fellows.
You call him Julian.
Julian. Man named Julian. Anyway, so yeah, I think maybe he was trying to say something deeper there. And again, I think he just fumbled it a little bit. And I can't say whether the problem was just writing or if it was maybe something he fumbled in editing. So I think either way is possible.
Sure.
Yeah, thinking back on it now, I guess there's probably a little bit more depth to his approach to the story than is first revealed on the first watch of the movie. Maybe I need to watch it again. Give me something to consider.
Nice.
I wanted to bring up Jacob really quick because, surprisingly, there's a black character in this story, and he's amazing. The kid is freaking amazing, both as an actor and as a character. I think that Jacob he's this amazing bright spot in the movie where even when things are most dour for his character and it's looking really down, he manages to flip things on their ear and turn it into a situation which is, humorous and beneficial for himself. And it's just,
he's got this like indomitable spirit, like no one can take me down.
Yeah. It's funny because when he first arrives, Caxton, the butler, and Sefton, Susan's older brother, they both kind of immediately decide, yeah, we're gonna give this little black boy, we're gonna show him why he doesn't belong here, kind of thing. And for everything they try to do to him, he continues to persevere, and
he always comes out on top.
Yeah, exactly. And I thought it was brilliantly written. It didn't feel it didn't. I guess the thing that made me really happy is it didn't feel like they were like Julian Fellows was pandering. Yeah. I think he just created a really awesome character and let that awesome character do his thing. I
just realized, are there any black characters on Downton Abbey?
Hell no. Hell no.
Have we seen a black face on Downton Abbey?
Nope. Even the closest thing to what would have been a black guy, Mr. Pamuk.
He was. They made him more like almost Spanish, didn't they?
Yeah, he was supposed to be Indian. Was he Indian? What was his nationality?
Arabian or something like that.
Arabian or something like that. Yeah, he was white as the day is long.
He had kind of an accent, yes.
Yeah, exactly.
That's hilarious. I never even considered that, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did think, other than Maggie Smith, I think Jacob was probably one of the guy who played Jacob, the kid, was probably one of the better written characters. I'm
not even going to try to pronounce his name. Yeah, I will. Kuweza Curia?
Kuweza Curia. Yeah, that sounds right.
Yeah. His first and only role listed in IMDb, which is crazy surprising because the kid was awesome.
Yeah, I did think he was good. You know, we haven't told the audience, he plays a freed slave in the movie. Basically, the captain, Hugh Bonneville's character, comes back from being away with this kid, and with the intention of that this kid is going to essentially be the eyes and the eyes, I guess I should say, of his blind daughter.
A companion, as he called it.
Yeah, and the kid just dives right into it, does a great job. There's no like sexual weirdness between the two kids, nothing like that. Like they're just two kids, might as well be the same sex or whatnot, but they're just like the best of friends off the bat.
I think there's a love story there.
I don't doubt that there could be something
love story
as they get older. You know what I mean? But it's not like it's weird, like, you know, like a 10-year-old and a 13-year-old going at it or anything like that. It's very well handled, I guess, that you get the impression that someday these two could become a pair. You know what I mean? More so than just, you know, buddy, really best friends.
Well, it's funny, too, because the way he's introduced when Hugh Bonneville, the captain, when he arrives, he comes in his carriage and he brings gifts for his wife, his son, and then, you know, his daughter Susan is like, you didn't bring me anything? And he looks in the carriage and he's like, well, let's see, I don't see anything, wait. And, you know, he reaches in and he pulls out this little black can and puts it in her hand. And I'm like, oh, hell no. You know,
he bought her a slave.
Yeah, I'm like, he got her a slave. Hell no, man. You know, and so, you know, but then, yeah. And so then he goes and he starts explaining the situation. You know, he's like, you know, I found Jacob, you know, he was a runaway slave. He managed to get on my ship and I was talking to him and he's, you know, he's just super bright.
He's stowed away and
he's
he's
really
brilliant.
Smart kid. He's, you know, and I think he'll make a great companion for Susan. He can be her eyes and, you know, it sounded really, really like, you know, wow, okay. And as the movie goes on, you begin to see what the captain, holding up finger quotes here, saw in Jacob, you know, during his time with him on the ship and why he decided he would make a great companion for his daughter. You know, you saw his strength of character and his ability to always look on the bright side. And, you know, he took his job as her companion incredibly seriously. Now, I'm guessing that his character is supposed to be maybe like 11 years old.
Yeah, 10 or 11, somewhere around there.
Yeah, he approached it like an adult, you know?
Yeah.
You know, the captain told me to always look after her and always be here. And against all odds, that's exactly what he does. And he's always there for her when she needs him. And I thought that part was beautifully written and it was, you know, it was touching. And I would have loved to have seen more of it. And kind of shitty of Julian Fellows at the end of the movie that they kind of just write in, oh yeah, and they died. She died. And, you know, nobody knows why, really. And
everybody dies. It was later. The past. They're dead. Sorry.
Yeah, and, like, I was assuming, like, okay, there's one more mystery. We're going to find out Sefton poisoned them or something like that. You know, something that would make any kind of sense besides, you know, yeah, they died.
Well, and it's like, as you said, like, maybe they were planning on sequels or something to that effect to it, that we were going to see something else happen. But, yeah, it seemed abrupt. It seemed weird. It seemed like a big letdown that we see these kids, you know, jovial, and then we hear that they're just dead.
Yeah, like the assistant director was sitting next to Julian Fellows and he's like, "Hey, boss, we're almost out of film here."
Oh, right. They're dead. Just Maggie, say that they're dead, and we'll just make it.
Hand me the script. Okay. Hand me the script. We'll just delete this page and this page and this page.
Moving on.
Okay.
Moving on.
Well, right. See, I'm erasing this, and I'm just putting marks through these lines here, and I'm writing on top of it. They died.
Moving on. Moving on. Yes. Yes.
Yeah. Exactly. But yeah, again, one of those things, I'm willing to overlook, but damn, it does kind of suck a little bit. But yeah, I mean, that's sort of all I have to say about that movie. This movie, I think that, as I said before, it was great. It was fun. I think in spoilers we kind of grabbed out our Tommy guns and riddled it with holes. But
yeah, you could tear anything apart.
Yeah, I think given enough time, you can tear anything apart, and it doesn't take away anything I said before. I still think this is for parents. I think this is a movie that is a great buy. It's something that you and your kids can watch together over and over, and will enjoy each time. And if you're not a parent, maybe just stream it, check it out. I think it'll be an enjoyable watch.
If you like Downton Abbey or Gosford Park, I think you'll love this movie.
Absolutely. All right, so let's talk a little bit about what we're going to be doing next week.
So coming up on the next show, we decided to do something a little bit special.
Not special.
Our next movie. No, we decided to skip Press Rewind. We decided to skip Hot This Week and go straight into a movie review. The kicker here is we're not only going to review one movie, we're not only going to review two movies,
but if you act now,
if you act, not only do you get one movie, no, you not only get two movies, you get 3 movies. In honor of the Evil Dead remake movie that just came out, which Jamel and I have not seen, but we'll need to rectify that soon.
Absolutely.
We are going to watch for you, lovely listeners, Evil Dead 2, and Army of Darkness.
Now, normally we do try to pick movies that are available for streaming. In this case, Army of Darkness is not available for free streaming, but it is available for rental somewhere, I'm certain.
I know it exists.
So again, act now, you'll not only get 1, not 2 reviews, but 3 reviews, all for the very low price of $3.99.
Nice. Yeah, so if you're interested at all in seeing the remake, come back next week when we talk in depth about the movies that led up to the remake.
So, until next show, I'm Jamel.
And I'm Joe.
And we are the Stream Team.
Stream Team! Hold on. Stream Team, bitch! I just feel like
see you next week, folks.
See you next week.
The Stream Team Podcast is filmed in front of a live studio audience and features music by Broke for Free and the Not Quite Quartet. For show notes and more info, visit streamteam.tumblr.com.